What's up, Knudsen? This is Two Guys Talking Golf. That's right, today it is, and today brought to you by Fujikura and the brand new Ventus and Ventus TR wood shafts. And listen, we have the AT&T Byron Nelson going on right now, and the so far this year, Ventus has been dominant on tour. At this point in the season, 6 of the top 10 professional men's golfers in the world are using a Fujikura Ventus shaft in their woods, driver or fairway, which is crazy. On the DP World Tour and the recent Italian Open, Fujikura was the number one driver brand with 35% of the field and also number one wood shaft. And on the LPGA at the International Crown, Fujikura was the number one driver and wood shaft. 43.8% of the field used Fujikura driver shafts, and they won the count. So, pretty impressive. Dominant on tour. I know the Ventus stuff is dominant on tour, dominant in amateur bags like ours. It's just crazy. It's everywhere. So, if you have not tried it yet, you owe yourself to. Go to fujikuragolf.com, find your local authorized dealer, your fitter, go try out some Ventus shafts, go try the Speeder NX, the Motori X line. I mean, they've got a ton, brand new Axiom iron shafts, so they got a ton of great shafts. Go try them out, but fujikuragolf.com, find your local dealer, and go try out some shafts, because they're all over the place, and there's a good reason for it. They're darn good, so... we've got an episode today. It's TG1, I guess. We've got our boy Tursky under the weather, I guess, when you're a world traveler like he is, or I guess national traveler or PGA Tour traveler. You tend to catch a few bugs on those metal tubes we call airplanes. So unfortunately, the boy is down, and we've got to keep going though. The show must go on, as they say in show business, and we got to keep rocking. So we're gonna go through some of the stuff at the AT&T Byron Nelson. I know Tursky, Greg Moore, they got tons of picks, a bunch of what's in the bag, some kind of interesting stuff that's popped up in a bunch of bags. So I definitely want to talk about them. I'm super interested in a lot of it. We'll just have to do it without Tursky's sweet melodious voice. And if you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to watch this on YouTube, Golf WRX Radio, you won't see his smiling face either. So just me today. Unfortunately, I miss my boy, but hoping him the best. Hopefully he gets better soon, and we should be back at it again next week. But sometimes you just gotta take some rest and heal up. But AT&T Byron Nelson, huge deal. Kind of a big tournament, bunch of equipment, kind of, I don't know if you want to call them changes or, anything like that, but a lot of kind of, different and new stuff out on the field. I'm not going to have any quotes from any of these guys, like Tursky sometimes does, but definitely want to talk about some of the stuff that we've seen here at the AT&T. So the first thing I want to jump into, interesting to see, Hideki with a new putter. I know the joke is always Hideki has, 20 graphite design DI shafts around his bag. He's always got, different or new putters and things like that. But got a brand new putter again this week at the AT&T. And he's sticking with kind of what they call the T2, it's stamped T2, which is the Timeless 2, which is the Timeless 2 is kind of a version of the Newport 2 that you and I can buy at retail. It's the tour version, and it typically has just some slight changes to it, and guys like Hideki could probably ask for whatever changes they want. If they want something where they want the top line a little thinner, or they've got slightly softer bumpers, whatever, they're going to be able to get pretty much whatever they want from Scotty, especially a guy at Hideki's caliber. But this one here going all black, I don't remember seeing an all black putter from him in recent versions. All the new putters that we've seen from him have typically been silver finishes, with pretty minimal stampings and cherry bombs, things like that. But we're into a black putter this time, so a T2 in black. Really not a whole lot going on with it in terms of crazy stamps or sight lines or anything like that. I mean, he keeps it pretty simple. But yeah, the Timeless 2, little taller face, little wider front to back, from face to back. And they do soften up the bumpers a little bit compared to a retail Newport 2. And that's just a generalization. Like this, Hideki can ask for whatever he wants. And again, I'm no Cameron tour expert. I know there's Circle T guys out there who know every little thing. I'm probably only hitting part of the Timeless, difference between Newport 2 and a Timeless 2. But Timeless 2 head shape, really simple. He's going with the single sight line on the flange, which is pretty much his go-to. I mean, it seems like that's what most of his putters are. Just that, nothing on the top line. The cavity's pretty simple as well. It's got just a Circle T in it. the HM, so his Hideki Matsuyama, I'm assuming his initials, the HM, and then T2 for Timeless 2. So pretty standard there. The stamps are decent size. The letters are. I would say they're probably a little bigger than 1/8 inch. They might be about an 1/8 inch. They might be a little bigger than the standard. And then on the toe side or the heel side bumper, Hideki is stamped in there, again finished in red. So the whole thing, black and red, pretty simple. On the face, he's got that super shallow mill like he has, had on previous putters. He probably likes a little maybe firmer feel, maybe a slight bit more click to it, because the shallower milling is going to give you a little firmer feel, a little more audible sound, but it's going to give you better responsiveness as well, because you're going to know where you hit it on the face. Not that he misses all that often, but like for you and I, we would definitely get a little more responsiveness. And then over on the heel side, he's got the Scotty Cameron and horizontal text, because I know they've done some verticals, like Tigers is a vertical Scotty Cameron. This one's a horizontal, and then the Circle T done in red. So really, really simple there. Nothing too crazy. And then on the sole, just 350. That's all that's on the sole. Totally blank sole, which a lot of tour putters have kind of gone that route before, where they have kind of blank soles. It's interesting that his just says 350, nothing else. It doesn't say Timeless. It doesn't say if it's an SS stainless steel or an SSS stainless steel or a GSS stainless steel. So it doesn't really say which is which, but just a blank sole with a red 350 stamped into it. And then you've got a Dancing Cameron Studio Design grip in black. So the old Studio Design grip that's been around forever. It's super thin, super small. I think Scotty on their site, when I was looking it up, they said something. It's something like the perfect feel or something like that. It transmits the most feel. So a lot of a thinner grip. Some guys like that in their hands. The thinner grips also again transfer more vibration to your hands, so you're going to again get better feedback from the putter. But really interesting, and like I said, no markings if it's a German stainless steel or surgical stainless steel or studio stainless steel. The SSS marking I've heard both ways, and when I was kind of Googling it, it looks like it was older. The older style was referred to as studio stainless steel, and now it's surgical stainless steel. But they're both the same thing. So not sure which one it's made out of. I would say a guy of Hideki's caliber. GSS tends to be a little bit rarer for full putter builds, but a guy of like Hideki, major winner, all that, if he wants a GSS, I'm pretty sure he can get it. But pretty interesting. He did have it in play on Thursday. I remember seeing I unfortunately wasn't catching much of the tournament because I was working, but saw some highlights on like Instagram and stuff, and it looked like it was in the starting position. He had it in the bag, but interesting look. Hideki, always interesting to see what he has in the bag. Always interesting to see the new stuff, and he is no stranger to swapping stuff out. Personally, I like the putter. I kind of use, I wouldn't say something similar, but my Bettinardi is a little wider face to back and has a little more squared off. The BB8W has a little more squared off bumpers and stuff like that. So when you look at it at address, I like the look of it, and it's a solid looking, simple putter. So it's nothing too crazy, but Hideki with a new one. So far, he's there and been using it. At least he was on Thursday. I haven't looked to see how great or poorly he's been doing. I think he was doing well earlier in the year or earlier in the day yesterday, but I have not checked up on him yet. I guess I could pull that up and see kind of where he's at on the leaderboard right now. But we've got Scheffler at the top, but let's see if we can find out where Hideki is, and hopefully it's not too much of a spoiler for you. And if it does, well, he's not. I don't see where he is, so I'm not going to bore you guys while I look it up and find it, unless I can find it like in the next 2 seconds. But he is, boy, it's just like Matsuyama. He's tied 35th at 5 under, so. I'm not doing horrible at 5 under, but tied 35th is tough with Scotty Scheffler at 14 under as of Friday afternoon as I'm recording this. So, but Hideki, brand new, T2 prototype. And we always call them prototypes because we don't necessarily know what, they're not made for mass consumption or mass, selling. So we just kind of call them prototypes when we do, but it's just a Timeless 2. Another very coveted tour putter, because it is the essential kind of tour putter, I think. I would say that if Tiger didn't have, his necessarily like name on his. Like, I mean, Tiger's is the GOAT of all putters, that's for sure. But I think if you take Tiger's putter, the most popular head shape that everybody wants, if you're a tour putter type collector, is the Scotty Cameron 009. So the 009 is just one of those head shapes that's been talked about, debated, loved, hated, everything for so long now. It's one I remember when I first started kind of getting into, equipment and getting deep into it and hanging out on, Golf WRX and some other sites. The 009 was all everybody talked about. Was could you get a 009 at retail? What was the closest? And people were able to pick out some of the most minute details between a putter that looked like a 009 and an actual 009, and it was pretty amazing to see how how into it people are. But the 009's been around a long, long time. Spieth uses a 009, a handful of the guys on tour, and it's based off the Newport, which the new Scotty Cameron Newport head is the little more rounded, little softer look, where the Newport 2, which is kind of what Tiger uses, or a version of it, is the more squared off putter head. Sharper edges, more squared off, a little larger. Is the Newport 2, and again now on tour it's kind of called the Timeless a lot. But the 009 is huge still on tour. A lot of guys play it. A lot of people, if you're a collector of tour putters, try to get a 009 in their hands, and a lot of people also try to find putters that look very similar to 009s. People like the look a lot. And Cody Gribble had two 009 putters on the putting green. If you go to golfwrx.com, you can kind of check out the little article we did for it. And he's got two, and they're both really, really cool. And it's interesting because usually with lefties, I kind of don't like, and I don't want to sound like mean or anything, I don't like looking at lefty clubs necessarily, because they just look different and they look kind of off. And for whatever reason, a 009 in lefty still looks pretty darn good. It's still pretty solid. He's got two though, one in a kind of a bronzish finish and one in a silver finish. And our own Greg Moore, who was out on tour, who took all the photos of these, did confirm that the bronze one is carbon steel, silver one is stainless steel. So he's got two different versions. And between carbon and stainless steel, there's debate on which one's softer, which one's firmer, and everything like that. There's a lot of people who will say, a carbon steel putter is a little bit softer if you have the exact same milling and the same head shape, everything all equal. And then there's other people who will say stainless, and that's where when you get into putters and golf, and the feel is so subjective of what you like the feel of, because some people will like one thing and some person will not like another, and it doesn't mean either one's right or wrong or bad. It's just what you like. Carbon steel, it's interesting. I was a huge carbon steel guy for a while when I was kind of in the deep hole of putters, and I was kind of collecting some Camerons and stuff like that. I never had anything that collectible, but I had like 6 of them. I had some stainless steel ones. I had some carbon steels. And for the most part, I always thought that, the carbon steel was what I liked. And then I think it was the Studio Stainless, which is funny. We'll talk about Studio Stainless in a little bit. I had a Studio Stainless Newport Beach, which is the one with the sound slot. And I thought that was like extremely soft. So, the head shape and all that is going to manipulate the feel a little bit. But all things, considered equal, a lot of people will say carbon steel is a little bit softer than stainless steel. And again, you can manipulate that with head shape and sound slots and milling and all that. But he's got a really cool bronze finish, 009. It's interesting. It almost looks, there was a comment in the photos on the forums that said, I really like the oil can finish of that. And I was like, wow, is it an actual oil can? Because an oil can finishes are typically brown. But a lot of oil can finishes have a little more kind of other colors in there. You'll see a little hues of purples and blues and some golds and things like that in most oil cans. And this one, it just looks too uniform to maybe be an oil can. Again, if you're a Scotty Cameron expert, if you jump on golfwrx.com, you can see there's a Cody Gribble article on the front page that has both putters listed. To me, it almost looks like it's some type of like really deep bronze, chromatic bronze. The chromatic bronze they use is kind of a little bit more gold. I wonder if they, did something to make that finish a little bit more, a little darker because it's definitely more of a pure bronze, or it's almost like a patinaed copper a little bit. But a very cool color. I really like it. It's not rust. It's not like Jordan Spieth's where it's that rust patina type finish. It's definitely something that was applied on purpose. The face is really cool. It's got the dancing Scotty Cameron horizontally, Circle T in the heel, and then on the far right it has Gribbs put on there as well. So he's got his name on it. Single sight line on the top line. That's it. Just a single white sight line. Flange is naked, nothing there. Really clean look at a dress, and as I said, big fan of what it looks like. Even in lefty, you can look down at it and appreciate what you have there. Tons of lead tape on the bottom. Whole sole is covered in lead tape, and then the back cavity has the Titleist stamping on the toe side bumper, the 009 stamping on the heel side bumper, and then the center one has the smiley face, a Circle T crown, and then the Scotty dog. And it's done basically red and white are the two colors they've done them in. Steel shaft, standard steel shaft, and the Scotty Cameron dancing no cord grip, which is the same one that like Justin Thomas moved to in a few tournaments ago. He tried that thing out. Really popular grip, and even with the collectors and stuff, it seems in the forums a lot of people who've had that grip really liked it, thought it felt really good. I've actually never held one. It actually came out, I probably have, because it came out with the 2012 California series. That was the grip that was stock on there. And I remember those putters, and I probably did hold and roll one, but 2012 was a long time ago, and if it was just in a shop, I probably didn't have a whole lot of time with it. And then the milling on the face is pretty shallow. It's nothing too different. The two putters are different in terms of the milling, but they look to be similar depths. The bronze finish one just seems to be a little tighter pattern. I don't know if they run the mill faster or slower, but it seems to be a little kind of tighter circles that run through it, where the silver putter, the stainless putter, is a little more spread out. So not sure the difference in feel in those, or if there'll be a big difference. But again, the carbon steel one, all bronze. I really like the look. And then you jump into the silver finish one, which is stainless steel. And again, this one here, when you look at it, there is no marking on if it's a German stainless steel, a GSS, or a surgical stainless steel SSS. It might be on the sole, but the sole, much like its other one, covered in lead tape, so you're not going to be able to see it. It's got a hefty amount of lead tape on the sole. Tursky and I love guys who go with the lead tape and go heavy with it. But the silver one, a little more reserved, a little more subtle. Again, white, a single white sight line on the top line. Nothing on the flange. Flange is naked. And a little less stamping on this one too. In the back cavity, it's basically a Circle T and then a 009.M. The .M stands for masterful, and from what I've been told and read and all that, masterful putters are ones that Scotty started using a 5-axis mill, which is a mill that can do much more rotation and things like that, and it did a much more precise job of machining these heads, therefore requiring much less like hand polishing after they were done to get them into final spec to be plated or finished in whatever way and stamped. So the Masterful series is just milled to a very tight tolerance on a slightly more advanced machine, and that's the kind of the difference. They also have slightly taller. They can have slightly taller bumpers, and this one, it looks to maybe be slightly taller. It's kind of hard to tell, but they could be just slightly taller bumpers, and as some people describe it as the shoulders of the club. And then also they tend to be just a little thicker. The flange, the hair thicker. They're just a slightly beefier version than a standard 009. Typically, from everything I've kind of seen with putters that have a little more mass, a little more metal to them, they tend to feel a little more solid. Now these, it'd be interesting to know the difference between the two in terms of feel. But unless we can get some word from Tursky or Greg, we probably won't know exactly. The face on here, again, a little different mill, a little more spaced out. It still doesn't look super deep. And then this one here has got really large Scotty Cameron horizontal on the heel, but it's really big. And then Cody over on the far end of the toe, and much, much smaller stamping tech. So it almost, I wish, because I just can't reach them. It's probably like an 1/8 inch over on the heel, and then like something like, 1/16 or whatever the next size down is over on the toe, but definitely smaller. At address, still a good looking putter. Just really clean, really simple. Both of them, look to have kind of standard plumber's necks. I know you can see some 009s that'll have like flow necks, or I think they've even had a couple with like a double bend shaft. It's not super popular, but we've seen them with long necks, with shorter necks, with flow necks. The 009 head can have kind of a handful of different necks that go with it. Both of these just straight plumber's neck, or if you call them crank necks, either one. And I like with the tour putters a lot that they kind of bevel the edges on the necks, especially the back. Now the silver, the Masterful, definitely has even a more kind of rounded off. Like when you look at the hosel, it's not the edges aren't near as sharp. They're much more rounded off, much softer. I kind of like that look. It does make the neck look maybe just a touch thinner at address. But I just like the look of it. I think it just gives it kind of something unique. It looks a little different than kind of the stuff you saw at retail or some of the other our tour putters. I just kind of like that little touch that they would finish the necks like that. So two really, really nice 009s, both lefties because Gribble's a lefty, but both really good looking putters, and I really love the finish. I need to find out more, like have Tursky or Greg or somebody find out more about that kind of patina or bronze finish, because it does look really good. I hope we see some more putters with that, because it's really sharp, and it, like I said, doesn't look like oil can to me. It looks definitely something that's a little more consistent, a little more almost plated on. So it'll be interesting to see that putter, and maybe we'll get a few shots of it later in the year. Like, if it's new, like, does it rust? Like, is it a finish that'll wear a little bit? And carbon steel will rust, will kind of patina as you play it. As it oxidizes, where stainless won't. It'll be interesting to see if that we see that putter later in the year, and it's got some type of patina or some type of rust building up on it somewhere if he decides to use it. But excuse me, Cody Gribble, two really, really nice 009s. And then we'll get into, I guess a final or a third or final Circle T putter that is extremely interesting, and that is the one of Roger Sloan. So Roger Sloan at the AT&T Byron Nelson, ping guy, ping staffer, has T100s, TSR or TSI3 driver in the bag. Nothing too crazy. I mean, most of the Titleist staffers, you don't see anything too wild. He does have what is it? I think an Evo 2, Fujikura Speeder 757 Evo 2, which was the blue one, which I think was the lowest launching one they made. He does have that, a shaft that you just don't see that often anymore. Old school, still rocking the TSI3, but kind of interesting to see that shaft, because I haven't seen it. I feel like I haven't seen it in a long, long time. But it is rocking the TSR3 fairway wood with a Ventus Red TR8X. So kind of a big boy shaft there. The rest of his bag is pretty standard. An older U500 3-iron with a MMT 90TX, and then T100s with some AMT white. It looks like S400s, which is interesting that he plays kind of X100 and everything else, and then the irons are S400. Then rocks some SM9s. I love the fact that he rocks an SM9s, and one of them has Calgary Flames, and they kind of did a yellow to red kind of fade on the paint fill, which is really cool. And hockey guys are always usually pretty cool guys on tour. But the most interesting thing is going to be his putter, which what it looks like. And again, I'm not a Scotty Cameron tour expert by any means, but it looks like a Delmar 2, which the Delmar 2 was Scotty's variation of the Ping B60, which the B60, if you look at the putter and you were to hold it kind of at the address position, it looks like a B. It's the straight line where the face is and the top line, and then it basically has kind of two humps on the right, and it looks like a B if you're setting it, put it up in the air. His is a little more aggressive than a Delmar 2. Like they had a Delmar 2 long neck that had a very similar B shape to it, but it wasn't as pronounced as this one. There's definitely a harder radius from toe to the center, and then from center back out to heel. Greater indentation in the center, bigger curves on it compared to the Delmar 2 that I don't know. I think it was something that you could get. It was one of those probably experimental pieces that they released it out, kind of like they did. I think an old Terillium long neck. The Delmar 2 was actually a Terillium model as well, but really interesting putter. Instead of having a crank neck or a plumber's neck or anything like that, it's got a flow neck to it. So it looks like a half shaft offset flow neck. Should have some decent toe hang or toe flow to it. That toe should hang down pretty far. And then, just an old thing, but it's in great shape. I do have to say, like the black finish that it's finished in is starting to wear off on some of the edges, but it doesn't have any like major dings or anything like that. The sole, he definitely is kind of a heel-up putter, a little bit like Stricker, because if you look at the wear on the sole, the toe is kind of worn pretty heavily, and as it kind of fades to more black as you get to the heel. So I think the toe kind of, toe down putting, heel-up putting a little bit for Roger. And then he's got a unique kind of like little T sightline. So he's got a single sightline on the flange, right down the dead center where the two kind of arcs meet or two curves meet. And then he's got about half of the back side of the top line is done as well in white. So looks like a T for alignment. The face on it has a little deeper milling than the other couple putters we've looked at. I would consider it kind of the middle of the road range, a mid depth. So it should be a little softer feeling, a little more muted. It's got the dancing Scotty Cameron text horizontally, and then a circle T in the heel. So both those. The back cavity is interesting. It's got the smiley face with the crown stamped in it, and then it's got the peace stick figure, which it's a peace sign for the head, stick figure body, and then a crown on that one as well, which one of the comments I think in the forum was said that that's a pretty rare stamp. You don't see that a whole lot. I'm not that familiar with those stamps to know if it really is or isn't. And then you have the Scotty dog out on the toe in that cavity. So pretty interesting looking putter, pretty cool. Not something that I could probably ever putt it with. I'm going to assume it's got way too much toe hang, but a pretty cool piece. And then again, you're looking at the dancing Cameron studio design black grip that looks pretty slick. It looks pretty shiny, pretty slick. I feel like that one's probably been on there a while. But if it's something that Roger's comfortable with, he probably doesn't want to change it. Again, much thinner grip, a lot of feel to it, but a very interesting bag that mixes a lot of new and old throughout it, and that putter is one that is pretty cool, and probably one that's not going to leave anytime really soon, just because it seems like, if he's had it in this long, it ain't broke, don't fix it. But a very cool one there, and that is, Roger Sloan's putter. And again, there's no markings on the sole either, sorry. The sole's got some wear. There's no markings with, the putter name, anything like that. So it doesn't say Delmar 2 or anything like that. It just kind of looks like it. So that's why I'm going to kind of consider it a Delmar 2 prototype. But, if you're someone who is, more knowledgeable in it, please jump into the Golf the BRX forums and update us on what that head shape is, because I'd love to know more about it. It's just a really cool putter, and, knowing more about it would be pretty awesome. And another putter, and again, I guess this is kind of like the Scotty Cameron show in a way. I didn't really put these in any chronological order, really, because I just kind of pulled these things up so I could talk about them. But if you're looking for Bobby Massa, and I'm hoping I'm not butchering his name, I think we misspelled it accidentally when we first put up the post, so apologize to Bobby. That's we didn't mean to do that. But Bobby Massa, who I guess is a great amateur player. I didn't know much about him until I started looking into his bag and looking into him, but I guess a great player, hits it a ton. Before we get into his putter, very interesting what's in the bag in terms of he's got a OG Sim driver, so a OG Sim with the weight set dead center, and then he has a Project X Hazardous Green Hulk in PVD green, small batch, 80 TX, so 6.5 TX, 80 gram in the driver, small batch, just a super heavy, super stiff shaft in a 9-degree head that I think is set maybe one click higher. I think it's either higher or lower, one click. But just, it's a pretty heavy, really stout shaft to play in a driver. So he must bring some heat. And some of the comments down below that know a lot more about Bobby say that he really does bring some heat when he plays, and his club head speed is pretty darn high. So he's a Texas boy, I guess, but has a crazy heavy driver, and then he goes into an OG Sim titanium 3 wood. So the original Sim titanium 3 wood with a graphite design Tour D DI8X with a grip that looks like his dog may have chewed the end of it. And it is a big chunk just missing out of the grip. It is just like it's been ripped. You can see the tape underneath the double-sided tape, and it's right under where it says Golf Pride, and then there's just a big chunk out of it. Again, I guess if the grip's working, why change it unless you need to? But a heavy boy there, and then he's playing some older TaylorMade stuff. He's playing the previous gen P7MCs with some C-Taper 130Xs, which I think we all kind of assumed it would be something crazy heavy and crazy stiff. And then he's playing the original mill grind wedges in kind of that antiquish, blackish finish. But the original one's there, and it looks like he's playing, some. He's playing the prototype 125, the WV 125 wedge shafts in some of those, and then he's got a 60 SM9. But then he's got to go to putters, and the guy has a Scotty Cameron Studio Stainless, retail Studio Stainless, like not a tour putter, no Circle T's, nothing. A retail Scotty Cameron Studio Stainless Newport 2.5, which I think is from 2004, 2006. It's pretty old putter. In great shape. No real big dings, no real scratching. Still looks like it has the original paint fill in it. Overall, just a really sharp putter. Now, the grip, on the other hand, also looks to be original. A Dancing Cameron Studio design in black, and it looks super shiny. Like it is, is real slick. And there's actually a chunk of rubber missing out of the very butt end of it, and you can see the steel shaft showing through on the grip, which is just amazing. He's got that grip on there, but a very cool putter. I loved the Studio Stainless design, and seeing his kind of made me almost like go on eBay and start searching the Studio Stainless line, because it was a really, really cool putter made of 303 stainless. Again, Newport 2 head, going to be a little longer heel to toe, going to have a little more squared off, larger bumpers. And then the 2.5, meaning it has just a little bit, kind of a little bit of a flow neck to it. It's a short flow neck, has Scotty on the backside, kind of milled into it, but offers a little more toe hang than the plumber's neck version did. So somebody who wants a little more toe flow through the stroke, the 2.5 was kind of an option there. Single sight line on the flange, just done in white, nothing too crazy. The bottom sole has the cool Scotty Cameron Studio Stainless, and the little I don't know what it was, but it's like the line with like little dots that come off it, and they're yellow, red, blue, and green. But a really cool putter, and it's cool to see a retail Cameron in there. Now, I guess he did pick up from the putting green a Terillium Masterful, it's a button back Masterful that he did pick up, which is kind of in between a Newport 2 a little bit. The bumper's a little larger, but a little more rounded. But he's got a Masterful that he picked up with a Terillium insert, a button back, and a baby T-grip that he did kind of snag off the putting green. But he doesn't necessarily get to keep it. Our Greg Mork, I guess, kind of caught up with the Titleist guys, because a lot of the people in the forums were saying, I would just go and grab a bunch of putters out of the thing, out of Scotty Cameron's, bag, take all the Circle T's I could. And I guess Greg Moore caught up and said, he could have it, but if he wasn't going to put it in play, then he would have to return it back. So pretty interesting that those guys don't get to just go clean out the Scotty Cameron staff bag that's on the putting green and just take whatever they want. If they're not going to play it, then they've got to put it back, which is pretty interesting. It was always interesting, a guy who's a Monday qualifier, like Bobby, what do they do in terms of equipment if they do want to get something new or change something out? But I would assume also that if you're a Monday qualifier, you're probably played really well to get in there. Why would you want to change up what you just played really, really well with, in this tour event? So, but a very interesting bag. Like I said, that driver setup is just vicious. I mean, you got to bring some speed. And then, cool to see a retail Scotty on there, because you just don't see that many retail Scotties when you start looking at what's in the bag photos. You just don't see that many. They're all typically, typically Circle T's of some sort. So in this case, I'm going to get into one more Scotty Cameron Circle T, because I've got one more and then I've got another putter. But if we're doing all these Scotties, let's just roll through them. And the next one would be Trevor Cone at the AT&T. He's a Titleist staffer as well. has basically a Tour Fastback 1.5, a Trillium Tour Fastback 1.5. So he's got the one with a Trillium insert, and there was a version of this made for retail. It was kind of under that kind of the red, white, and blue kind of short series they did. One of the guys in our office actually has this putter, the retail version, and it's a really cool putter. He putts really well with it, but has a soft Trillium insert. Has a really cool Bankroll head cover. I had to Google Bankroll, and they are a pretty, I think, new head cover company. But they've got a head cover that looks like a Krispy Kreme box, and it basically has putt for dough and a picture of a donut on it and all that, which is pretty cool. I like the look of that. But his Trillium insert on this putter, it's an all black putter. Trillium insert, which Trillium is kind of like a copper or bronze alloy. And he's got a good wear mark right in the center. And it's hard to tell, like, was it something that was like dinged up or whatever, or, dinged up or, just hit against something, or has it been like, an actual wear mark? And it actually looks to be a wear mark. The more I zoom into it, it just looks like there's a bunch of little marks in that dead center spot. And I think this guy just putts with it so much that he's had a little wear mark right in the center. A little bit of green patina starting on the very right-hand side of the insert. And, the Circle T on the right-hand side, even the black finish is starting to kind of wear off and almost patina as well, which is pretty interesting. If you look at the sole on it, it's pretty much gone to majority silver. That aluminum center sole plate is still primarily black, but the rest of the putter is starting to change its way back to silver. This one here, it looks like he's running twin 10-gram weights in the bottom. But yeah, this is basically it's kind of in between a mallet and a blade. It basically, it comes off in the face, and then it's kind of a rounded, mallet look, but it has kind of bumpers just like a blade. It's a little bit in between. Single sight line on the flange, nothing too crazy there. Little slant neck, and the difference between slant neck and a flow neck. Typically a slant neck just comes off at an angle. It tends to be a little bit shorter than a flow neck. That isn't always the case, but a little slant neck coming off there, about half shaft offset. And, the dots in the back that have that like silicone caulk that Scotty uses to kind of, soften up that insert a little bit so it's not just directly metal on metal and any room for vibration there. The also interesting things, if you look really closely, we've got a shot of the heel of it. And the heel actually has like some wear. Like, I don't know if he uses, a putting training aid or something like that actually rubs against some type of, piece of plastic or wood or something like that, but it almost actually has a little wear in the heel, like he's been rubbing it, against some type of putting aid on the putting green. But really good looking putter. It also has what everybody's kind of assuming is a new tour only Matador grip. Kind of looks like a Super Stroke Flatso a little bit. Really flat top, rounded back, and kind of oversized as well. It's got the tour, the Circle T and the tour use only markings on it, but it might be a newer version, I guess, of the Matador grip that was available to us, from what a lot of the comments in the forum say. But a pretty cool putter. You can tell that Trevor's been using it, and it gets a lot of love. It's something that doesn't look like it gets switched out very, very often, but a very cool putter from Trevor Cone. And then the last putter. Or actually, the last what's in the bag. There's some interesting things in this bag that we'll kind of hit on all of them. The first one being, this is going to be Harry Hall. Who's playing at the AT&T Pro-Am, or AT&T Byron Nelson. And really interesting setup that it looks like he's playing two drivers. And I don't have confirmation that they're both in play, but he's got two very different setups in driver. So he's got two Paradigm triple diamond heads. One of them is a 9-degree head, and it's set -2 and neutral, and he's got the green dot adapter, which allows you to go down 2. So they make Callaway makes an adapter that you can buy if you go online. You can buy it, but they make an adapter that goes down 2 degrees instead of just down 1. Most adapters go down 1. They do make one that goes down 2 and only goes up 1. So it's a +1, -1, -2, and he's got this 9-degree set in -2, and he's playing a Ventus Black 7X, and then he's got another triple diamond 10.5 head that is set in the upright setting, so the draw but upright setting, standard loft, with a Ventus Blue 6TX. Now, they did make a Blue TX for Tour. They didn't make it available to us on mortals, but it is a Tour piece. But really interesting 2 driver setups. It's like one set for a big high draw, the other one set for kind of a low cut. But interesting setup that he's got 2 drivers, and then he goes down to a Callaway Paradigm 3 high launch fairway at 16.5 degrees, set at neutral with a Ventus TR Red 7X. Rest of the bag is pretty standard with TCBs. Then you get into the wedges, and he does have a 64-degree wedge with the brand new, it's the Jaws Raw 64 with the new J grind. But he's got the J grind kind of like almost like enhanced, like they've ground some of that off, and I wonder if he's just trying to get away from 10 degrees of bounce of this club and go a little lower, because it looks like they went after the trailing edge relief, they went after the sole a little bit, and there's a little section in between those that you can see where there's a little bit of chrome that might be peeking through, so I think he's maybe just taking a little bit of bounce off there. But then his putter is an old O-Works 1 wide, 1W, that he's got, instead of the micro hinge insert, he's got the standard White Hot Pro insert in there, and then it's done in all black. This, I think, was a Versa putter when it came out a while ago, which is black, white, black. This one, all black. T alignment on there, so he's got a single sight line on the flange, and then he's got a line that runs heel to toe on the back half of the top line to make kind of a T shape. And then it's interesting, he has no weights in the bottom of the putter. So this model had 2 movable weights. Both are gone. They're just empty slots. And we're thinking that's going to run about 330 grams without any weights. I think 10 grams are kind of stock in there to make it 350. So 0 weights, and we're looking at probably about 330 grams. So pretty light by today's standard. But putters years ago were definitely lighter, so maybe that's what he's used to. It's been good beat up. It's got a few chips in the old paint to show that it's had some love to it. The whole sole is basically silver now. It has like pretty much no black left. And then he's got standard steel shaft and that Odyssey. The Odyssey grip from, I think it was the White Ice, had the blue cap on it, the white and red. I can't remember. I think it was the White Hot Pro, and then I think it was whatever was after that. Oh, it was the O-Works in blue. So pretty standard paddle, kind of pistol putter grip, pretty shiny. Looks like it's been used quite a bit, but pretty interesting what's in the bag. Pretty interesting putter that he's got on there. So I know I've rambled. I know I kind of blew through this, but it is, by AT&T Byron Nelson, and when you don't have Tursky, I kind of just have to go on my own, which is all right. Well, we got it done, but again, we'll get him back next week. So that was the AT&T Byron Nelson. If you go to golfwrx.com, you can kind of see all the what's in the bag photos, all that. There's links to them right there. Definitely some interesting ones, so go check it out. Please, if you follow us on Instagram at TG2WRX, would be great. And yeah, I think that's all I've got. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that Tursky's feeling better next week. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week.